Hello, my name is Tian Welliver, and today we are going to go over how to use sum and count functions on Microsoft Excel using my grocery list as an example. So let's get to it. Using the sum and count functions for Microsoft Excel can be an extremely useful tool. It's applicable for many situations, and it is kind of like an extremely smart calculator. This can be used to count lists of numbers and words and will help you organize yourself when making lists. To use the sum function, what you will want to do first is you will want to select your area where you want the sum to appear, and you will want to type out this formula. Equals sum, and then you want to open your bracket and select the area that you want to find the sum for, and close your bracket, and then hit enter to activate. Using the count function is very similar to using the sum function. You will want to select the area where you want your count number to appear, and then you will type out your formula, which is equals count, and then you want to open your bracket, select your area, close your bracket, and hit enter to activate, and it will give you your number, which we will review at the end of this slideshow. The count A function is once again similar to the count function and the sum function because you're selecting an area and adding a formula. So first you're going to type out your formula, and then your formula is equals count A and your selected area, and then you press enter to activate it. The difference between this and count is that the count function only works on numbers, while the count A function only works on words. The count blank function is unique in its own way in comparison to the others because it doesn't count anything except for parts of your list that are missing. So in this example, I have taken out my chicken price and I have selected where I want my count blank number to appear. I type out my formula, which is equals count blank, and I select the area that I want to see how many blanks are in that area, and in this case there's one. I hit enter to activate it and it will show me my number. Okay, so now we have our results from our functions. Our sum function came out with $35.17, which is all of our current remaining prices added together. The count represents the amount of prices that we have listed, which is 11. Count A shows 12 items listed on the list, and count blank shows the one price that is missing, which is our chicken price, which was originally $2.15. So we would have originally had $37.32, but now because we have deleted that, our sum has changed to 35.17. The reason why this happens is because we can change the numbers within the selected fields of our formulas, and we can remove them or change them, and this will immediately correct the answer in our function field by updating to the items or prices in the formula. Today we will be going over formatting and design with Microsoft Excel, specifically using borders and crossing out cells. Alright, so our first example is creating borders. First, we will want to select the desired area of our spreadsheet that we want our border to be around. Then we will select our border pull-down menu located above our spreadsheet. Next, we are going to open the More Borders window at the bottom of our pull-down menu, and finally, we will choose our desired border from the window or from the pull-down menu if it is available. Crossing out cells. So, just like in our last example, we will select the desired area on our spreadsheet. here I have selected our jelly through our chicken prices, and we will select our pull-down menu, which is located in the same spot, and go to the More Borders window. Next, what we're going to do is in this More Borders window, we are going to choose either our / or \box, or both. In this case, we will do both. This is the main one here, and this is the other one. And together, they will give us this result. So here is our completed example with our proper borders and the desired cells crossed out. So we have successfully achieved our border, and we have successfully crossed out our cells, and guess what? We looked darn good doing it. Today, we will be learning how to use the VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel. What is VLOOKUP? Well, VLOOKUP is a great tool for finding specific details on lists in spreadsheets, especially if you have different lists across multiple pages that you need to find information for easily. So this will create an easy interface for an information search in a Excel spreadsheet. So step one, we're going to take a look at an example spreadsheet that I have made right here, which is a grocery list. And so basically, this is a very small example, but what you can do is you can make this little search tool for yourself so that you can find the information on an item in your spreadsheet very easily and quickly. So what we're going to do is we are going to create, either on this page or on another page, we will create this little setup for our formulas. And what we're going to do here is we are going to make a input box, and we are going to highlight it yellow. And that's where we're going to put our item name. And then underneath it, we will want to make a price bracket and a quantity bracket. And that is where we are going to put our formulas so that it will show us the corresponding information when we put in the name that we want. So, step two, we now have our little information box that we have prepared for ourselves. So now what I'm going to do is show you the formulas that we need to put for price and quantity in order for them to show the corresponding information for the item that we have placed in our highlighted box. So for price, this is going to be our formula. We're going to do equals VLOOKUP, open our bracket, and we're going to select our highlighted box for the item, and then we're going to lock that down. Next, we're going to throw in a comma, and we are going to go over to our spreadsheet and highlight the area of the spreadsheet that has all the information that you might want to find. And then you're going to lock that down and put another comma in there. And now what this is going to do is it's going to be looking for the item that you have typed into this yellow bar. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this comma and then a 2. And what that's going to say to the formula is that it is looking for the information in the box that is 2 boxes from the one that that has the keyword that you're searching. All right, so then we'll finish our formula with that next comma and the false close bracket, hit enter, and it should show us our price for the item that we have selected. Quantity is going to be the exact same formula, except for we are going to add a 3 where that 2 is, because in my spreadsheet, quantity was just 1 more box to the right as price, which is 3 boxes away from the item name. And so we'll enter that formula and it will show us our number for quantity. So for an example, I'm going to now put in the formula for this, and we will just look up milk. Milk is a good example. So here is what happens. So we put in milk, right? And here is the answers. It comes up with $2.49 for the price and at a quantity of 2. Now, if you look at the table that I have milk is on the very top, and that is the correct price and the correct quantity for it. Now what we'll do is we'll do another example. So I will take milk out of there and we will go down to number 12. 12B is ice cream. And so if I type that ice cream into the yellow box, that's all I have to touch, and it will tell me the correct price and quantity. So that is how that works. So just as a quick recap, this is our item finding search tool that we have just created for ourselves. And basically you can put any item name in the highlighted slot as long as it is spelled correctly, then it should always show up in your price and quantity as correct. The formula will always stay the same. So you never have to touch that price or quantity box again because it just shows you the information that you need. So all you have to do is put a new name in the item search bar and it will show you all the information that you need. Today we will be going over how to set up a dashboard on Microsoft Excel. Dashboards can be a very useful tool in situations where you need to manipulate or calculate data. So here I have my data, and this is a simple example of some data in the form of a grocery list with prices paired to each item. Creating a dashboard allows you to have a place where you can do something with your data. Today, we are going to prepare to go shopping using this list that I have prepared. So the difference between what I have here and what you have seen before is that this is a simple dashboard set up for the grocery list that I have created. Now what this has is the quantity section is actually all inputs. So I can change the amount of quantity of an item that I am purchasing and it will change the corresponding item total and trip total. Now for this shopping trip, we're going to say that we have a set budget of $70, which means that we're about $20 over budget. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get rid of some of our items here so that we can afford to buy all the food that we need. So what we have here right now is we have the syrup and the ice cream are two items that we don't necessarily need, and we definitely don't need 4 pails of ice cream and 3 jugs of syrup. So just for this one shopping trip, we are going to cut down on those 2 items and make them probably just 1 of each. So what we're going to do is we are going to click within one of the boxes that we want within the quantity section, choose which item we want to reduce in quantity, and that should recalculate our item total and our trip total. So now I have changed the ice cream and the syrup to a quantity of 1 each, which brings the item total down to just about $5 for ice cream and almost $4 for syrup, which puts us at $66.81, and that is just right in our price range. We'll walk home with, $3.19 in our pocket. Happy people. Whatever your data is, a dashboard provides an environment for you to use formulas to calculate your desired variable. This is why a dashboard is so useful, is because it can help you calculate and view your data in an easy format that is very user-friendly and nice. The more complex your data is, the more manipulations you will need to perform to calculate data. The more impressive the dashboard concepts become, the more useful the dashboard will be for finding your intricate data within a spreadsheet. Today we will be going over the text to columns function in Microsoft Excel. So what we hope to do today with the text to columns function is take a spreadsheet like this, and now what I have here is my grocery shopping list with a list of all of the products and the prices, as well as the brands that the products belong to. So in this specific example, what we want to do is we want to take the names and the brands, and we want to separate those into a text list on two separate column lists instead of in a single column list separated by a comma. So in the end, we hope that that will look like this. All right, so as a demonstration for how we plan to achieve this goal, we will take our grocery list and we are going to highlight the area that contains the subject matter for our demonstration. In this case, it's from milk to syrup. So once we have that, we'll go to our data bar and we will click this button here, text to columns. This should bring up this page right here. We'll get this little text wizard and we will choose delimited and press next. Here we have the option to choose where the delimiters will be. So where is our information being split from? And in this case, it's going to be the comma. So I'm going to choose the comma and I'm going to hit next. So now we are at this box, and here we get to choose the column data format, which we are going to choose general, and we also get to choose the destination of where this information that we are creating is going to land. So we're going to click this little icon in the destination bar and choose where we want all of this information to show up. Okay, so now I get to choose where I want this information to land. So I'm going to choose the data box E3, and that is where all of this information will land when I hit the finish button in our little information window. So when I hit that, we should get this information. So now, as you can see, I have all of the same brands and products listed outside of my table, and they are no longer in the same cell. They are now separated in separate cells instead of being in the same cell, just separated by a comma. So this is sometimes actually a really useful thing for when you want to be able to split up just text information and such out of its single cell so that it can be viewed separately. Today we will be going over how to use the nested if function in Microsoft Excel. So first what we're going to do is we are going to take our spreadsheet. In this example, I will be using my grocery list. So what I want to do in this is I want to figure out what quantity I should buy for each of my items here. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to make a quantity section. And what I want to figure out is basically if I have, let's say, anything that is under $2, I want to buy 2 of that item. But if anything is over that, then I just want to buy 1. And if anything is over $4, then I don't want to buy it at all this time around on this shopping trip. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little ledger for that. So over here you can see for $2, for if you have less than $2, get 2. If you have more than $2, get 1. But if you have $4, then get none. It doesn't say get none, but I will be putting that into our formula. So here we go. All right, so now we have our chart here and it looks a little bit better. So what we're gonna do is we are going to click in our cell under quantity and we're going to enter in this formula. And this formula says, if the cell C3, so that's our milk price, if that is less than $2, then it should have a quantity of 2. But if the milk price is greater than $4, then it should have none. If not, then it should have 1. So we're going to press enter on that, and it's going to give us that number. That's because our milk is just above $2 and just below 4, so we get one of those. We're going to drag down that formula for the rest of our stuff, and we'll get all of our numbers here. So orange juice, ice cream, and pancake mix all got nothing because they are all above $4. But what we can do is we can go back into our ledger here. So we'll click on this $4 in our ledger, and let's just change it to 5. So what this will do is it will automatically update all of our quantity list, and now you can see we have all new quantities. Pancake mix, unfortunately, is still too expensive for us to buy this shopping trip, but maybe we can get it when our budget is higher. So now what we're going to do is we will end up just taking all of this and making it look a lot nicer. Alright, so now we have our chart looking all nice, and we've added the quantity section to our entire chart, and we've made our input section for the max and min look nice. And in those yellow boxes, we can now just change those numbers to whatever we want, and it will update our quantity accordingly so that we can always budget out and figure out what quantity of products we need. Today we are going to be going over how to use color scale conditional formatting in Microsoft Excel. Color scale formatting is a fantastic tool for categorizing information. It also updates with new information very easily and is easily modified. So this makes it pretty simple to use and a good tool for making lists more visible and easy to read without having to make charts or really get too far into the specifics. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my grocery list like I have used in my past videos, and we are going to select our quantity section, because what I want to do here is I want to be able to quickly glance at this page here and kind of be able to understand where all of these grocery list items sit without having to look for the individual numbers. So I think that color coding the quantity cells will actually make it a lot easier to identify which ones are 2s and which ones are 1s. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our Home tab, and we are going to find the Conditional Formatting button, and we're going to bring down the pull menu. Now when you bring down the pull menu, you're going to get this, and you're going to want to go to Color Scales, which will bring up your small little box on the side. And here I'm going to choose a red and blue color scale scheme so that we can put that to my chart, because that's very easy to see. Alright, so when I press enter, this is what happens. My 1s all become red and my 2s all become blue. This makes it super easy to read because I can glance at it and it'll just pop right up. And the best thing is that I can go into my input cell for my max and my min, and I can change the number there. So in this instance, let's go up and let's change our minimum number from $3 to $2, and we'll change our maximum number from $9 to $5 so that we can get a better look at how well this will update as you go. So as you can see, when I hit enter, all my quantities instantly updated and changed the colors accordingly. Back in our pancake now, we used to have a $9 maximum, but now we're at a $5 maximum, so we're getting no pancakes, and it'll show up white and says none. So this is a really great way to be able to very simply see all of your information easily, quickly. It's actually kind of pleasing to look at even. So this is a great way to help yourself categorize information, and this can be used on a much larger scale than this, and in that case it would be a little bit more helpful than in this case. But I hope that this has been a helpful video for you to understand conditional formatting as far as color scales. Today we will be going over how to make pivot tables and why they are useful for Microsoft Excel. Pivot tables are a really cool form of table in Microsoft Excel. They're really great for making different table layouts. They're easy to edit and they are simple to read. In this demonstration, I will take this grocery list that I have used in past examples and I will use it to make a pivot table. So what I will do is I'm going to find in my insert bar the pivot table button. It should be located on the far left. So here it gives us a box after I've clicked my pivot table icon. It gives us this box and we can choose the information that we want to show up in our table and where we want our table to land when it is compiled. So this is pretty simple. You can either drag your cursor across the information that you want to show up in your table, or you can manually type in the cell names. That's up to you, but I would just do the drag. Anyways, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in my data table and I'm going to end up putting this on a new worksheet instead of on an existing worksheet. Now that we're on our new worksheet, you should have a part of your worksheet that looks like this pivot table. And basically what this is it's your starting pivot table. This is where your pivot table will show up. Now in your right corner, you should have this pivot table fields array. Now what you can do here is you can grab all of the different parts of your information and put them where you want them in these boxes according to how you want this table to be laid out. So this is how I set up mine. I brought it down so that the quantity was in my filters, the grocery list was the rows, and the sum of subtotal was my values. And what did it do? It made this into my chart. Now this is a very, very useful pivot table because it shows me all of my totals and my grand total for this shopping trip, but I can also choose my quantity differences. So basically, if I want to buy one of something or two of something, now I can go into this pull down menu and it will display that information alone. So here we have a table with all of the information on it like you just saw. In this quantity bar right on the bottom right corner of the all section, I have a small pull down menu, and when I press this, it brings this up. Now in this array, I have all selected: the single quantity, the double quantity, and the zero quantity. So what I can do is I can choose which one I want to be displayed. Right now we have all of them, and I will show you what it looks like when you have all of the other ones as well. So here we have our single quantity purchases, and in total it comes up to $25.60, and you can see all of our things, all of our items that we are going to buy only one of in this shopping trip. Now if I go back into that filter bar and I change the quantity to 2, then it should change the display accordingly. So here's my chart with the quantity of 2. You can see I have a lot less things that are going to be bought in double quantity, so it only comes up to $5.86. And now we can go and we can find if there's anything that we're going to exclude from this shopping trip with our next filter. So it looks like because of the price of pancake mix, it doesn't actually show the price of pancake mix here because it knows that we are not going to buy it. If the price is over a certain amount, then we are not going to spend any money on that. Now, if I do remember correctly, the pancake was just above $8, and my budget calls for nothing to be bought that is over $5. So in this case, this table does not show me how much the actual single item costs. It shows me how much I am going to spend on said item. That's why it is very important for me to keep a knowledge of what's on my data page and what's on my pivot table page, because they do show two different sets of information. One of them shows you the individual price of the item and the quantity that you're going to get, and in this case, what we're looking at now is the amount of money that you would spend on the quantity that you're getting, not on the individual items. Alright, so in the end, our pivot table should look like this. Now, I do want to make sure that it is very clear that, for example, bananas per pound is not actually $1.38. That is exactly twice as much as the bananas per pound cost, but we know that on our data sheet, it says that we were buying a quantity of 2 bananas, and when we entered that information into this pivot table, we made it so that it would blend the price and the quantity. So in this case, we will be spending a total of $31.46, but that doesn't mean that every single individual item actually is the price that is displayed here. A lot of them are actually duplicates, so that means that we're paying a full price for multiple copies of that. So that's important to remember, that when you're looking at an array like this, you have to remember that these prices aren't accurate to a single individual item price. That's why you should make sure that you still have your data sheet at hand and be constantly comparing them, because another thing is that you can update this information on your data sheet, but when you update it on your data sheet, if you come back to your pivot table, you will need to go and press this refresh icon so that all of your information from your data sheet can be updated into your pivot table. Otherwise, it may not actually update and you will have false information. Today, we will be going over how to use pivot charts and slicers in Microsoft Excel. Pivot charts and slicers. So, pivot charts, they're really useful because they're a lot like regular graphs, but they kind of have embedded pull-down menus in them, which makes them a lot easier to create and edit than a regular graph with, manual input cells. And the reason why we use slicers is because slicers are kind of like remote controls for pivot tables and pivot charts. They can have different variables applied to them, and that makes them also easier to edit. Now, the reason why I like using slicers and pivot charts is because using a pivot chart is just better than using your regular chart, because it's so much easier and quicker to make. And then with the slicers, what you can do is you can use it as a remote control to change the information on that chart, and it can be applied to change a whole bunch of different styles of information in your chart. And the reason why slicers are so freaking awesome is because they can actually be applied to multiple charts simultaneously. So if you have 3 different styles of charts that all have variables that can be changed, you can actually use one slicer on 3 or 4 different charts at the same time, and just with a click of a button, you can update the information on your chart easy as pie. So for our demonstration, we're going to grab this. This is a pivot table that I made in my last demonstration last week. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to take this and we are going to make it into a pivot chart. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up into our bar and we're going to find the pivot table analyze button. And you're going to click on that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look for this button that says pivot chart. So you click this and it'll create a pivot chart. This is what that will look like. So now we have our brand new pivot chart. And as you can see, it's pretty well done right off the bat. There's not much that you have to change about this, but what we want to do is we want to be able to change all of the information in this without having to change it manually on our data sheet or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to go back up into our bar and we're going to find the Insert Slicer button. Now we're going to click that and it's going to give us a little tiny window like this. And this window is going to ask us basically what variables do we want this slicer to contain that it can change in our charts, right? And you have to remember that you can actually apply this to multiple charts simultaneously, so that if you want to make a chart, 2 different charts that show very specific information from the same table, then you can use the same slicer on both charts so that you can use it simultaneously and make it look really nice. So today what we're going to do with this specific sheet is we are going to choose the quantity slicer and we are going to press OK. And this is what that will give us. So now we have our slicer here, and as you can see, it asks us, do you want to have a quantity of 1, a quantity of 2, or a quantity of 0? Now, in my last demonstration, I briefly went over this. We have basically food that I'm willing to buy in certain quantities depending on the price of an individual product. So some of these are kind of more expensive, and if they are too expensive, then I will only buy one of those products. So that's kind of how this is working. So I have set this up so that I can see which product I will only buy 1 of, 2 of, or none of, depending on the price. So now this is what your spreadsheet should look like on your dashboard. So now, taking a look at this, you can see my original pivot table, and then to the right of it we have the pivot chart, which I have made for price evaluation, and we have the quantity slicer on the side. Now when I change the stuff, when I click on one of these options in my quantity, it will apply a filter to both the table and the chart simultaneously. So now let's just click on the number 1 and see what happens. So this is what it looks like when we have only selected things that will come up to a single quantity. So we look at these and our grand total is $25, right? And you can see that our chart has changed accordingly, and so has our table. So that's really nice. If you want, you can go over and you can click on that little thumbtack looking thing with the X in your quantity slicer, and it will take away all of the variables that you have applied in that scenario, or you can, manually click off of them. So this is what that looks like now. Let's go down to a second quantity so that we can gain a perspective on how different it looks. So this is all the stuff that I'm buying in double quantity, and you can tell that it's obviously, there's less stuff there because of the fact that it's less expensive, and so I can buy more of it. And some of this stuff, if I want to be sparing with my money, I'm going to be trying to save some money, and I do have a set budget. So let's just say here, these, I'm not going to try and get 2 in quantity of all of my products. So this is the lowest one, but you can see that that's just how it is. And it did update my table and my graph simultaneously, and it looks really nice. Now let's go down to 0. So in 0, our chart is actually empty because, well, it's judging by money. So we're not spending any money on this because we're getting a quantity of 0 of pancakes due to the price. Now, just for a reference, I want to bring you back to my original data sheet so that this all makes a little bit more sense in context, because if you haven't seen my past demonstration videos, then this wouldn't make a ton of sense. So let's take a look at my data sheet real quick. This is my data sheet. So in this, you can see I have the grocery list and then the prices with the quantity and the subtotal. Now the prices are the actual price of each individual product as a single product. And then what I decided was that depending on the price, if it has a minimum of $2 or a maximum of $5, that would affect what quantity I would buy it in. And then we have the subtotal, which shows how much I am spending on that general product instead of a specific quantity of that product. So in our pivot chart and table, we actually have eliminated the prices and we are just looking at the subtotal. And then it tells me the quantity and the subtotal, because I'm really just looking at how many am I buying and how much am I spending on it, because we've already done all of the other calculations. So what you can do is I can come in here, and if I decide I'm gonna start buying a different brand of milk, then I have to come in here and I can change the prices on my data sheet, and then I can make it so that it updates on my chart as well, but you have to do that manually. So if I come in here and I change any of the prices on this list, it'll update for itself, but we have to go back into our other page on our dashboard. And what we have to do is, this is what we have right now, right? it will not have updated with that information yet. So what we have to do is we have to go just into our actual pivot table, click anywhere in there, and go up to your bar and press this refresh button. Because when you do that, all of the information from your data sheet will be updated into your pivot table. It's very important to remember to do this, because if you mess this up, then you may actually be looking at falsified information, and that would be unfortunate. So after all of this, you should be able to go back to your pivot table, and this is what you should all look like. It's all clean, it's all ready, and very easy to be edited and reviewed in all of its glory. So thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it was helpful, and we will see you guys some other time, I suppose.